Hi, and welcome back to the HSP Connection with me, Robbie Lee.
And me, Philippa Robinson. This is where we share our stories, insights, and strategies to help fellow highly sensitive people navigate their own path to living a fulfilling and meaningful life.
The first 10 episodes of this podcast are conversations that we first had on Philippa's solo podcast, The Meaning of Minds. Please check that out if you're not already subscribed. We thought that these conversations were valuable enough that we brought them over here, but we've added a little twist. So before each episode, Philippa and I are sharing a few thoughts we've had since listening back. We're sharing any reflections we've had, and then we'll let you listen to the full episode. So today, Philippa, what episode are we talking about?
Well, today we're talking about, I think, what was probably one of my favorite, was probably my favorite, which is all about intuition.
Yes.
And that was the title of it. It was all about intuition. And I chose that. So this was a subject I really wanted to talk about. And I talk at the beginning that I came across, I think it was written down somewhere, that intuition equals instinct plus spirit. And I was really interested and excited about that. So that's why I wanted to talk about intuition. And in fact, what we really talked about was spirit. We talked an awful lot about spirit and what that means to us and our journey with it. And it became a conversation that I think I was absolutely ready to have. So I'm not saying you weren't, but you were pulled into it with whether you were ready or not. And it was very much about our spiritual journeys with where we've been with all the other stuff that's been going on in our lives.
Yeah, it's funny. This is one of those conversations where we thought we were talking about one thing, and then it really kind of veered off and took on a life of its own, which happens fairly regularly for us. Like, we'll think we're going a certain way and it goes another way, and I actually really love that, because I think that we just follow the energy and we follow what is feeling good in the moment. But this was also one of those that I think it was like, are we releasing this one? Did we want to, are we doing this? And we're like, yep, we're doing it. This is what we're doing.
It was definitely another one like, do we know enough about this to talk about it?
Right.
But really, we're just talking about our own experience. So we absolutely are totally qualified to talk about our own experiences of these things. And, as we've said before in other intros, we just want to encourage any of you guys out there who are listening to this to use your voices in whatever way feels good to you, to talk about your experience, to bring your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, to bring them into the world and let other people know about it. Because it's really important that we don't stay small and quiet, which is how, as a society on the whole, women are led to believe we should be. And that is definitely the way I lived a lot of my life, inwardly. I think outwardly, I might have looked like I was confident and out there, and this might not mean anything to any of you who are not in the UK, but I was always called a bit gobby. So I've always got something to say, and I'm a bit loud. So I probably would not have come across as small and quiet, but that is definitely how I felt inside.
Wow. Yes.
And I don't anymore.
Yay. Yay. Yay.
Yeah. I mean, part of it, I'm in my 50s now. Don't care. That is a great place to be. It really is. And partly it's all the work I've done. It's all sorts of things all coming together that, I'm not going to be small and quiet anymore.
That's right. Neither am I.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Partners in crime.
I can't, that's right. That's why this works so well, I think.
Yes.
And I can really relate to that feeling of being small. And for me, I mean, I would read a room and read the people and be like, and I would suss out like what is okay for me to bring here and what might not be really welcomed. And, we're not doing that lens here on the podcast. We're saying, here's what we're feeling led to say and what is really bubbling up from inside of us that we want to give voice to. And that's what we're doing. It feels great to be doing that.
It does. And yes, it's easier for us to do that here where it's just us two. We're not in a room where there are other people who we might feel who we might feel that they, I don't know, disapprove, or whatever we've got to say is not wanted. So what we've done is we've created a space where we are safe to do this.
Yeah.
And to any of you listening, I truly hope you're here listening because you're enjoying listening to us. And, we want to encourage and inspire you to bring your full self and not have to play small and quiet. And I also appreciate that is easier said than done. But maybe just have that in the back of your mind and see what is possible.
Yes. And know that we are rooting you on.
We're
in your corner.
are. And we want to know, we want to hear about it. So, if anything that we have said has encouraged or inspired you to do just something, even if it's just something a little bit different or a little bit louder or a little bit bigger, we would absolutely love to hear from you. We really would. So please do get in touch. Was there anything?
Shall we let them listen?
Yeah, I just also wanted to honor us actually before we go on to the last one of these, because I feel this, listening back to this, and I've already shared this with you actually before we started recording, but I feel this episode was us stepping into a different place with each other. I think you'd done then 10 episodes with me because I'd done quite a lot by then. I'm slowly learning to let go, and I just feel that there's a different way about us in this. I feel like we're growing in confidence. And this episode, I listened back to this episode with a big smile on my face. So
I did too. And my wife, actually, I had it playing in the living room. My wife walked by and she stopped and she smiled and she said, "Oh, you guys have a really great back and forth," I think is what she said. And it's like, yeah, thanks. And I remember thinking, yeah, I think we're finding our rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another episode.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
Well, finding a rhythm together.
Exactly. So, okay, enough of us now, and onto this episode, all about intuition, instinct, spirit. Here you go.
Enjoy. All right, Philippa. So today we have yet another juicy topic. What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about intuition.
Yes.
And this was my choice. And as you know, I have trusted my intuition and come along without a list. Because I trusted my intuition to let me know where this should go. And also I should have trusted my intuition to know that you had a few pointers for us, which I didn't know until we arrived on Zoom. So all about intuition. And I've had this on as a topic on my list since we started, because I came across, I mean, it's not a quote, but I can't remember where it is now, but I came across, I think it was written down, where somebody had written that intuition equals instinct plus spirit. And that just really spoke to me. We talked about I think you beautifully told us back in one of the previous episodes about how you connect with your gut instinct, and how you know whether your instinct is sort of giving you a yes or a no, and we'll touch on that a little bit more as well. but I just loved the element of adding spirit to it as well. And yes, I'm very much on a spiritual journey. God, I said the word spiritual and journey together. At the moment, that has definitely been part of what the last couple of years, most definitely, but also really part of my healing, and everything that's happened over the last 6 years for me has definitely been about that core bit of me that I think was frozen for quite a long time during my childhood as a safety precaution, really. But the unfreezing of that bit and the release of that part and the freedom that part of me has experienced is very much what is playing into how I am now and how I am thriving now. And I would say that part I'm talking about is largely spirit for me, the spirit in me, as opposed to connection with higher self and spirit, which is part of it. But that, and in a way, spirit and that spirited part of me, that like feisty bit that sort of wants to come out and play and have fun. And you're not going to believe this, but it can also be quite bossy sometimes as well.
Hard to imagine that you have something in you that's bossy.
Really? What? Yeah, no, it's funny. My 3 brothers and my husband and my 2 sons will tell you that I'm incredibly bossy. I have to be. No, I'm joking. So, that's why I wanted to talk about intuition, because I love this idea that intuition is all about us having an instinct, and we might talk about where that might come from, plus this spirit bit. So how does that land for you?
I quite love it, actually. I don't think I was as familiar with that saying, but when I start feeling into it, there's the information that I get, the instinct, but it's like a relationship with, and I don't always know the words for it. I sometimes call it my higher self, or sometimes I'll say my wise self, or sometimes I'll say the real me, or it's that piece, which I feel like that part of me, which I'm happy to call spirit, is the one that has all the information. Like my brain might have some of it, and my inner child has some of it, and these pieces of me have some of it, but that part, my spirit's got the whole shebang. And so she's the one that really has the answers.
That's making me feel quite emotional. Like there's this little part of me inside that's now doing this little happy dance like this, that's going, yes, exactly. Couldn't have put that better. I really love the way you just described that. That's very much how I feel about it. And it gets me into all sorts of trouble sometimes.
Do tell.
Well, no, it's just following or having that spirit that can that has all that information and that can help us tune in with the instinct, wherever that's coming from. And I would add womb to that as well. I've done quite a lot of work around feminine energy, and the womb being the sacred sort of center for women, or the womb area, actually, whether one has a womb or not. But it's that spirit part of us that can connect with all those messages and work out how to interpret them and work out which way to go, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely the navigator for me. Like
Yeah.
the one I can most trust, I guess, because other parts try to navigate.
Yes.
My fear will try to navigate me.
Yeah.
My perfectionism will try to navigate me. My people pleaser will try to navigate me. But that spirit part is the one, as we've been talking about, that it's like it has all of the information. It's like, hey, here's the way that will be the most beneficial for you if you go this way.
Yeah. And, as you're saying all that, I'm really picturing this, because that part that we're talking about, this is funny that this episode is obviously going to go down this spiritual path, which is
Which we
fabulous,
didn't plan for,
which we
and it's
didn't plan.
amazing. Yeah.
No, but that part that you're talking about has always been there. We
Yes.
were born with that part. That part was the
Yes.
pure part of us when we were born. And it was that part that helped us cry when we needed things and laugh when we were having fun and experiencing joy, and just, was pure, really.
Yeah.
And these other parts that you talked about, the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the fearful part, all of those protector parts that have been needed over the years, or so they were needed at one point and then became part of the framework, really, that we carried forward with us. There is still that pure part in there.
Yes.
And it's that part that I have found so much joy in reconnecting with over the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
That has made all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was frozen for a long time. That's how I coped. I think I knew how special that part was. I can't even believe I'm saying half of this. But anyway, that I think I knew how special I knew how special that part was. And I knew I needed to protect it. And that's why it stayed frozen for so long. That's not why it froze in the first place. That was its reaction, I think. But that's why it stayed frozen for so long. And I think the frustration at that is what led me to the catastrophic thing 6 years ago that made it all unravel, because it's like, come on, this is enough. Let's get on with it. Let's get on with doing something that is, more in line with what I'm here for.
Yes. Yeah. And there is a direct tie between spirit and purpose for me. Yeah. Like that, like she's the one that is holding on to the purpose and saying, hey, this is why we're here, and here's how we best use it, and here's how you, like, she's navigating from that place of how do I fulfill my purpose?
Yeah.
How do I do? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we're both sort of a little bit reticent about what we're talking about, because because we feel it, and we feel it really deeply. Of course we do, because we're HSPs. But it's also not the way that we are used to talk. I mean, we're used to talking like this together, and we're used to talking about this in the HSP group, that groups that we're in. But outside of that, so knowing that this conversation is going out into the world is a little bit, oh my God, how is this going to be received? Who's going to listen? Everyone's going to think we're very strange.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fill in the blank. And but also there is a real calling to me to talk about this, and to talk like this, and to hopefully reach some people who might think, oh, what they're talking about, but there's something inside them that's going, listen, this is this is important, this is really going to help us. So, deep breaths and all that, and here we are bringing this to the world for quite a few reasons, really. I think as HSPs, because we feel everything so much deeper, it can be a tendency in younger years to keep that part of us safe, down, hidden, ignored, separated, whatever we end up feeling is the right way for us to survive. But that part of us is in there. So if anybody is listening to this who thinks, okay, this sounds a little bit strange, but actually I think there is something in this for me, just notice that is the reaction you're having, that much as this is not what you are used to hearing, or maybe how you might be able to talk about the way you feel, just know that you're having a reaction to what we're saying, because that is your instinct as sort of interpreted by your spirit giving you feedback.
Yeah. And that feedback, that's a really important piece of it. Like that, the learning how to hear what your intuition is trying to tell you, right? Mm-hmm. Learning what to hear, what your spirit is trying to tell you, can take some time. It takes some attention. It is exactly what you just said, the invitation to notice, right? Mm-hmm. To just start noticing, like, oh, how am I feeling in my body in this instant, right? For me, some of the things I might get a stomach ache, or my heart feels like it constricts, or I feel the opposite, just completely wide open and free and joyful and light. Sometimes I feel like effervescent and sometimes I get goosebumps. Like what are the messages? Yeah,
I just got goosebumps when you said
awesome.
that.
That's awesome. So yeah, our body does give us info. Like it's one of the things we have as a way of communicating. And we, even though the dominant culture, like you and I have talked about, the dominant culture really praises logic and analysis. But we also are aware of this other part, because even within our vernacular, we say things like gut instinct. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? That's your intuition. It's that part. It's that same thing where you have a knowing and you don't know where it came from. You just know. And you just know. Yeah. And part of the journey is to notice how you know. Like it's to pick up on the signals, honestly. It's like tuning into the signals.
Yeah. And then they might not necessarily be in your gut area.
That's right.
That's right. You like you've beautifully described it. It might be just a feeling of constriction, or whatever the opposite is, freedom. Or it might be. For me, when I went to therapy, I would always I'd always have my hand at my throat, weirdly, not like, but I'd have my hand here, in the throat area, just sort of resting gently. And, that turned out to very much be about, me feeling like I've got no voice, and me having so much to say. This podcast, having so much to say and not being able to say it. And what drove my hand to do that? Something made me do that, rather than it just being on the arm of the chair or crossed in my lap. We don't normally sit like this, do we? So notice these things that are just a little bit different, and a sort of like a lurch in our heart sometimes we can feel, or goosebumps, or yes, in the stomach area we can feel that hollowness or a sick feeling, or all of those things that we've talked about before and you've talked about today. But notice them and tune into them, and when you've noticed them, then the thing is to work out, okay, what is that trying to tell me? What was that in reaction to? So I noticed I had that. Why did that happen? Who just said what, or who just did what, or what did I just feel?
Yes. And for me, it felt a little bit like like an investigation. And I want to remind people, this isn't about perfection, and you're not going to get it right all the time, right? It's but just be curious and start. Curiosity is a really good place to start, and just notice, and then oh, I wonder what that was about. And it doesn't have to be any more than that. It doesn't have to be some big, heavy thing. Right? It can just be, oh, I wonder what that was about. And for me, actually, one of the things I also had to work out is then my brain, which is so good at solving puzzles, was like, oh, I got this. I know what it was. And my brain would come in and logic all over it. And my brain was not always right.
No. And that was a point I was going to come on to, that, we do have a tendency to override our instinct. We can, how I will tend to say to clients sometimes who are perhaps not sure what a decision to make about something, I'll say, okay, so if you take away all the expectations on you and what other people are wanting you to do, and there are no repercussions for the decision that you make, what would you decide now? And they always have an answer. Always.
Yes.
Then they can come up with lots of reasons why that can't be the answer, but they always have an answer. And that is your intuition, because on the whole, we know because we have all this going on inside, and we have this intuition. We know what is right for us.
Yep.
And the really hard thing can be when we know what is right for us, but it's not right for other people that we love, that are, and then we have to sort of work out, can we follow that? And we can't always follow our intuition. But also there are consequences for not following our intuition, because it can come back and bite us in the bum.
Yeah. I would say, your intuition it's just information, and we are always at choice, right? We can choose to listen to it. We can choose to not. And neither of those makes us a good or a bad person. It's just, we're just doing our best here. Right?
And I think actually that's our intuition at work again, that, our intuition can know what's really good for us, but can also know that right now is not the time to be doing that. Like, it might be really good, I don't know, it might be the best thing for us to leave our job, just using that as some example. But actually, if we leave our job, it's not a great time in the work market, in the job market. We might not get another job. We've got lots of bills to pay, and we just can't take that risk right now. So our intuition can know both of those things, and both of those things can be true. And then we have to decide. And that might be the place where logic can come in and start to help us. Okay, so actually, can we look at the budget? Is there anything we can change? Can we downsize? Are there any bills we can get rid of? All of those things. And it might be that it has to be the decision that is right for us has to be put off till somewhere else down the line.
Yeah. I think for me, what I have noticed, if I'm being truly honest, is if I put off a decision that I know is right, things will get more and more uncomfortable for me in my life. Like that's just what's true for me about it.
Yeah.
And so till eventually I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that thing
Yeah.
that I've been feeling like I would be good for me to do. But you're absolutely right. There are just consequences to everything. And so again, like we're at choice. We get to choose what we want. And sometimes making the choice to stay because doing the other thing seems too scary right now is a fine choice. As long as you're at choice about it. I think that's what I want to hopefully empower people with is just be conscious of what you're doing and
Yeah.
make those choices. Yeah.
Yeah, I changed jobs a lot in my 20s and into my 30s. And I changed jobs a lot because I wasn't happy in my job and I'd go out and look for a new one and I got offered a new one. So I was like, okay, I will I'll go and try this one.
Yeah.
I was looking for something and surprise, surprise, I didn't find that something in those jobs. But that's what I would do. And I've completely forgotten the reason why I was going to why I was start. There was a point to that, but actually, I think it wasn't safe for me to do what I really wanted to do, which was give up the whole thing. I was still very much in my childhood trauma, and I didn't want to give up. I didn't feel like it was safe enough to give up my career at that time, and so I didn't. But the beauty of age is that having been through that a few times, I just knew that is what had to happen. And I haven't really looked back since.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have as much money as I had then, but I don't need as much money because on the whole, I'm enjoying life much more. And it's just really interesting how those things change. I don't think that's the point I was going to make, but I think we will, that will be the point that that I do make there. Yeah. My intuition it's not my intuition, it's my, menopause brain letting me down there. So you talked in a previous episode, and we've talked about now as well, how to listen for those messages, how to notice them and being aware of what's going on. In order to connect with them and to connect with that part of us that is going to sort of filter out all that noise and work out quite what is going on and what is that instinct in us knowing what is right. As I was reminded today by somebody who I went to for a little bit of advice, it was really to take that time to slow down, to be quiet, just be by myself, and listen to, listen, take that time to listen. Out in nature, I find really it's easier to connect. But just being quiet. My house is not very often quiet, actually. So just trying to take that time. Otherwise, it's very hard to hear through the noise.
So crucial what you just said. I couldn't agree more. There is something about nature. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can certainly feel it. It just feels like I don't know. But a lot of us feel it. So those of us that feel it, we get it, right? There's something about nature that makes it easier to then connect with myself.
Well, we are nature.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
We are nature. I think we forget that as human beings, we are just part of nature. And
that's right.
It's like getting back to basics, isn't it? Going out into nature and reminding ourselves that is what we are.
Yes. Very good point. Yeah.
So I think that certainly helps me understand why it's easier to connect with that part out in nature. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Beautifully said. And there's something so hopeful about alone time, especially in nature, because I think, like, especially for us as HSPs, again, we're taking in so much information, right? So it's like from every human, every animal in our vicinity, and loved ones, we feel it even more. It's just like all of that is around, and we can go and be by ourselves, grounded in nature. It makes space for what is there just for us without as much noise from all the other places.
Mm.
And that can be just so helpful as a connection point to really be like, okay, what am I really feeling? Like starting there, what am I really feeling around this? Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously a meditation practice will
So helpful.
be helpful there as well. And that, that doesn't have to be anything fancy. That can literally be 5-10 minutes every day. And, that's what the lady that I was talking to today said, do you have a regular meditation practice? I'm like, no. And she said, you probably would find that helpful. You are aware of what is going on, but you're not really connecting to it in a way. So 5-10 minutes every day just to slow right down and just breathe, really. Just connect with that breath, because it will the messages will come. The messages that need to will come. So
absolutely.
Who knows what's going to happen next, because I'm going to be meditating, and it's all those messages that I need to hear are going to be coming. So who knows what that's going to be. Look out.
Look out. That's amazing. Look out, world. Philippa is coming even more into her own. What?
Well, we'll see. The other thing that you were talking about just before we came on, before we started recording, was journaling.
Yeah. I think it's, as a tool can be really helpful.
I agree.
To get in touch with spirit, right, as we're saying. And there are different ways to do it. You can just freeform and put everything out on the page. And then something that you mentioned was you can also literally write out the questions on the page, like write out a question and then just see what comes. And frankly, I have been really surprised in a wonderful way by what I've written. Sometimes just like, oh, I do know things. Well, I'm quite wise sometimes,
Yes.
It can be a really fun surprise. And sometimes it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is ridiculous. I feel crazy right now. And then maybe one word will come up and it's just like, you are loved. Like, oh, that didn't answer my question, but maybe it did answer my question because, wow. So it can, again, I say all that to say, try to just be open to what comes. It doesn't have to be a specific something, but play with it. Have fun with it. Just see, as a tool. It might be a helpful way, another way to just get in touch.
Yeah, I have definitely had some real insights through journaling. Again, I did used to have a regular journaling practice, and I don't.
I don't either.
But equally, when I'm in a way, that's good news, because I do tend to turn to my journal when I'm in a dark place. And I haven't turned to my journal for a little while now, which is good in one place. But I do think I do feel it would be really beneficial for me to connect more, because I do think there's a lot to come out. So journaling, meditation. I tell you what, I used to have a great morning practice. I get up, do a bit of yoga, sit down with a herbal tea with a candle on. I would do a little meditation, and then I'd journal.
Wow.
I know. It was blooming amazing.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And now I don't do that, and I get straight to work. So the only person stopping me is me, unless I have an early meeting, of course. But, and then I can just not schedule those. The only person stopping me is me. So get out of my own way and let myself just get on with it and do what is needed. I think there we go. That's what I need to do. So thanks. That's really made me feel a lot better now. That's great. I know what I need to do.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do you know what you need to do, Robin?
I do have a regular meditation practice, which is wonderful for me. And it's for years, I thought I can't meditate because my brain would just go a mile a minute. And I thought meditating meant I had to sit in a lotus position and I had to, have some profound breathing technique and my mind had to be blank. And that's not what meditation is for me. I started with guided meditations. Those helped me because it was something I could focus on. It was like, and it would easily take me to some place that just felt really relaxing, which was, the whole point for me is just really relax my system and make space for any intuition that wants to come through. And now I do my own visualizations and it can be really quick. Like I can do a quick meditation in like 60 minutes that absolutely grounds my system and helps me feel lighter all at once. So, it doesn't have to be some big, scary thing. It can be interwoven.
Did you say 60 minutes there?
No, I meant 60 seconds.
60 seconds. I thought you did say 60 minutes.
That.
I was going to, yeah, that sounds
People
great.
are like, only an hour.
I've never done a 60-minute meditation.
No, a minute. It can be 1 minute.
Awesome. I'm glad we clarified that so we don't put anybody else off who's listening. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would have listened back to that and thought, oh no, that's not what I meant at all.
I did wonder whether you meant 6 minutes. 60 seconds is amazing.
Yeah. Now I do longer ones also, but I'm just saying it can,
Yeah. I mean, I just find sometimes just two or three really intentional deep breaths are enough to calm. I mean, so I use that a lot to calm my nervous system and to keep me in a good place. That is a meditation sort of in itself. So I say I don't meditate, but I do have practices that really support me. And I definitely think for me, I need a more intentional practice so that I can connect and have that time. Because there's wisdom there, I think. The better I'd be.
There is wisdom there. Yeah. There definitely is. Yeah. I think something that I would like to do more of is writing. I used to have a writing practice. I don't have a writing practice anymore. I found it to be really helpful. So I think that's something I want to incorporate more regularly. I think, but one thing I want the listeners to hear too is some of the things we're talking about are ways to help our system calm down so that we then can hear that wisdom come through more easily, right? If you're in a heightened state of anxiety, it's really hard to feel any wisdom, let alone or act on it, right? It's just like when your anxiety is going on, there's like something in your body going, we're afraid we're gonna die. Like, I mean, that's how big it feels, right? Yeah. So it's like, please attend to that first. Like, what does your system need? Yeah. Right. Yeah. What do you need to be? And so, yeah.
Very well said. You're not gonna sort of stress yourself into getting loads of great downloads, are you?
So, no, you're not. At least that hasn't been my experience.
No, not mine. So I'm sure that's not anybody's experience. Well, I don't know if it's your experience. Anybody who's listening, let us know. But I can't actually see how that's going to work. No. I think I said actually. I've been really trying not to say actually, and I said it then. So yeah, if anybody's listening and knows that has noticed that I say actually a lot, I know I say actually. I'm trying to stop it. Right, not saying it anymore. So I think that's probably it for this episode, unless you have anything else to add.
Maybe, see, I say a lot, so that's a thing. But you know what? We're here imperfectly, and we
absolutely are here imperfectly.
Yeah, inviting others to be imperfect in the world as well. So I would say, think of it like a relationship. I say this all the time. Like, you're just building a relationship with that part of you. And so pay attention to it. You won't get everything right. When you notice it, say that. Be curious. oh, I wonder what that was about.
Yeah.
It doesn't, that, but with a lightness and playfulness and joy, doesn't have to be hard and heavy. And if you're not sure that you're getting anything, ask for help. That's what I did. Be like, help me know this is effing real. Like, because, and then do the things like we talked about, do the self care things that help your system calm down so that it's easier to hear stuff. Because
Yeah.
I bet you're hearing things, which just not, you don't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Help
you're absolutely
yourself.
right. And thank you for saying that about, don't make it heavy, and, try and have joy, have fun with it, find the joy in it, and just be light around it, because there's enough to make us feel heavy. And this is certainly not supposed to be something else to add to that. It's just there is great joy in it, and this connection, this relationship that you're talking about, is very much at the core of the work that both of us do, which is supporting people connect with themselves, have a better relationship with themselves inside, rather than doing what a lot of us do for many years, which is looking outside.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it means so much to us, which is why it's it's been the subject for today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I know at the beginning I said, oh, this feels very strange. It does feel very strange, but I think it's become less strange during the course of our
definitely
time here together.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd love to hear what people think about this. What does intuition feel like for you? What do you notice? Do you have a name for spirit or your higher self or your wise self? What name do you use? What are your techniques for connecting? We'd love to hear from you. Any questions you have? Yeah.
We absolutely would. Thank you. So I think we'll end the episode here today for now. Thank you for listening and watching, however you are consuming this episode. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being part of our community. And we are really loving the feedback we're having for these episodes, and it's been such a joy to record them together. And thanks for being part of it with us. And we will be back again next week with another episode. And if I've got my timing right, next week is episode 100 of the Meeting of Minds podcast.
Amazing, Philippa. Amazing that you've done 100.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm really proud of that. So we will be having a little celebration in the 100th episode. I think we know what it's going to look like, but just in case it doesn't, I won't say so now. Just in case it doesn't happen like that. But yeah, so next, I'm pretty sure this is episode 99. So it will be back next week with something a teeny bit different. Tune in. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. It helps others find us. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes and any suggestions you have for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to Robbie Leigh, that's leigh.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to safeandsupported.co.uk. See you next time.